Watching the 15-minute chart on the New Zealand Swiss. The spread's not too great, 1.2. But in these 4-hour boxes, you can see a picture of a 15-minute event. Like you can see the story there. And every 15-minute panel, every 4-hour panel has a certain story to tell. And it's quite a bit of pips, actually. So what if you didn't know anything except each box, a box at a time? So when you start off here into the that 4-hour box, now I zoom in now, you can see the spread. So it's kind of like, oof, well, you're going to have to pay for the white line and sell for the yellow, and then all of a sudden it doesn't look so good. So when you zoom out, when you look at it like this, it looks like it's dead in the water and stuff. But if you see it from the trap entry perspective, as far as buying new lows, it just some guy was talking about in videos that I was swearing too much and stuff like that, and that this, that, and the other thing, and he's in the United States trying to trade. Well, don't trade there. And I can already hear his answer. Oh, it's not safe to. If you're looking for safety, you shouldn't be trading, I would say. Because anything could happen. There's no guarantees. Yeah, you can have stops in there, but they could blow through your stops and you have slippage. The other thing is, you could talk about all these 4-hour time frames and how to trade this thing. But for the past 8 hours, it's been just creeper gear down. So I think that the trick is, there's a trick to everything. Here it's going to be, for my case, I'm always going to buy these new lows here in anticipation of the market coming back to here to cash out. Now that's not a lot of pips because the spread is so big here. That yes, that is a high probability trade, but it's better to buy this new low right after this rambunctious move at 4-hour insane volatility. It's okay to buy in limits. It's just that when you put your limits in here and they crush all the way to here, I think this is what this guy thinks is risky. Well, it's about just laying them out based on what the market's doing. So since I have a flat risk of X, each pip, so for me, 20 pips is $2. And I know that that's the risk, $2. Now, how many of those do I put in? 20? It's $20 risk. So it gets real risky real quick as far as dollar risk, And it doesn't take much to hit a few buttons and be into 35K. Even if you press the button each time at the market, at least you had to make that choice. So here the sellers are getting out. The trend traders are supposed to come in here right now and sell this down. But I suspect that we're going to try to take out the high of the day up here. If that's the case, then if I was going to sell limits, my first limit would come in here and I would just run them all the way up. Okay, so, and the guy that's United States, it has been a while since I ran the Oando account, but when I did it, I had different size tickets and they worked, and that was not very long ago. And like I said, if that's the case, then just go trade options or go trade commodities. Go trade the ES Mini, I don't know. It can't be that hard to find a place to put in these orders. So you'd have your sell limits up here, and you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they're going to blow that thing out. Whatever that dollar amount is here, this is going to be your risk. So that's to me what the risk is. I don't think the risk is, unless the risk you're talking about is being wrong. So as the market comes down here and you keep buying and you're buying new lows, right? These are completely new. if you are not scalping out of one of these tickets back into this floor on the 15, the story inside this thing, and here's the new low of that whole box. Right? This one giant smash below the 50-yard line is where it is a completely new low. It actually closes below there, which is confirmation for people that there's people that literally sell that and say, oh, close below, confirmation, it's going down. Wonderful. Like it closed here down and you got in. So this is what the no-nonsense people do. At the end of the day, if the market's up, they're getting in. Right? Now, it's not like they couldn't be right. Like, so they bought it here, and then they ride it to here. If they didn't cash out, then kablamo, or wherever their stop is. Maybe their stop's down here. So the most brutal scenario is you buy here because there's a lot of volume. You put your stop in here and kablamo. That's 4 hours later. So because you didn't see this, maybe, or you didn't see these wicks here, and once we shave through that, and we kind of do that pretty quickly, then it's like kablamo, and then dead cat bounce off the support. Buyers are supposed to come in there and support it all the way up. It doesn't quite work out. And of course, all these kind of easy auctions here where there's a new low, they tag it, they rip it here, people are cashing out, and then ultimately people are trying to cash out at this. They don't quite get it. Once it goes above here, people that go opposite of a Williams fractal, people that fade a fractal, sell here. That's a trap for the confirmation. That's a Williams fractal there. And here too, there's a Williams fractal fade. So you're basically going to buy that, go against the herd. This is melting down, but I don't know what the end game is here. I'm supposing we're going to go after this now and try to come after this the rest of the week. So since this is kind of like the middle of the week, and at least it's the end of the day. So the scalpers have made their money here to here. Now the question is, do the sellers come in and start to drag this down and just keep tanking? So if we look left to see, well, because it's cutting new water, and I haven't looked at this currency, first time ever. Let me zoom out and see where we lie in the landscape of all this. And of course now, you can see the 4-hour trades very clearly as far as a breakout, and almost see the storybook inside of that. And I think that's critical to kind of know why the market's doing what it's doing. I think the only problem is that when it does it so dramatically. Like, look at this move down here, this new low, and then we come smashing back all the way to this. That's very violent. Whereas all of these versions of that, these are very tame versions of this situation. So having the scope of orders to make money from the so-called trend, because you got these top bottom. This is marching up on the 15 all day long. So, I'm sorry, all week long. So these are 4-hour bars. So this is 1 week. I'm sorry, 1 day. But there's 6 bars per day. So I was thinking about if we broke it up in different chunks. But this is, if you're going to trade breakouts, you're going to break out of the 4-hour chart. So this is, if you have a buy stop here, sell stop here, you're filled long. Buy stop, sell stop. You just keep getting filled long. You're like a turtle trader here. The only time I wouldn't run that strategy is when you get to a big bar. Then you can't do that anymore. Then you got to drop into limits. So, like when the market gets this heated up here, I don't really want to put a buy stop here and a sell stop here because it's too much risk. Even though you could say, well, look, it went up there. So what are you talking about? Like that was, look, it went up. And it kind of went up into the floor of this situation here previously, or right around this price. And once it got above here, I think a lot of people are selling it. Banks and what have you, people that don't have stops that are that tight. They're willing to sell that whole window there. They don't really care. Plus, this is the ultimate place to sell. So I wouldn't put a buy stop here. I put sell limits above that. Because if you put a buy stop and a sell stop here, okay, you could say you got trapped here, but wow. And then you put a buy stop and a sell stop here. You're short and you don't know why. You're short just because this is the first hesitation. You may not be realize that this is the floor that we've fallen below and it's time to sell. That may not matter to a breakout person. So I could show somebody how to trade breakout system without explaining structurally why that's a good trade. I'd just say look for small things and put a buy stop and a sell stop. And put about 20K buy stops, 1 pip apart. So you half a pip apart. So you're only going to a 10 pip window of bad fills, let's say. But the worse the fill, the wider the stop. So your 8 pip breakouts is going to have a 25 pip stop, and it doesn't have to, but it's just logic that you're going to risk more on your shitty fills because you're already getting filled like shit. But that's ultra confirmation entry, right? If you put a buy stop 8 pips above, you're saying, dude, if that thing really goes up, I don't want to get trapped on this and then have it pull back. I don't want a 5 pip stop on that entry. You can't. If you're going to trade breakouts, if you're trade with 0 stops, it's different. But if you're going to put stops in, you got to have different stops. Somebody asked about a hard stop. Well, it depends. If I have a button that I press, like these are, I guess these ones that I show where you drag and drop them, those are soft stops because it's a hard stop for each ticket, but the whole rack I'm talking about. But if you have it hit a button and you have staggered stops, or they're clustered tight, or they're clustered wide, or they could be, well, I guess they could be like, hey, I got stopped out of that ticket, I pick up another ticket. But I like to think about a composite fill, like the market plunges into a 40 pip window and it picks up about 30 tickets without getting stopped out, and it cashes out at 20% of that. And now I can make the decision where, okay, it's scalped out of some of it. Should I let that ride, or should I come in with another layer of tickets on top? Or should I just start trading at the market? Because I'm like, holy shit. Damn, that was like too fast of a sell-off to be real. I mean, it was just kind of like filling the void. So that just filled the void. Doesn't mean it can't keep tanking. But like, for instance, right here on the chart, you see this low. So anybody that bought below here, they cashed out into where they got in. They bought this whole thing, and they knew that this was tanking. Obviously this last bar finished down, but they're playing that dead cat bounce. The person that's going to trend trade that is going to sell every rally. Sellers sell every rally to make money. So if you went long and you're like, well, you're in the seller's window. Anytime it's up, it's probably going to go down. Every time it's down, it's going to go up. It's pretty sick. So it's how much it is, though. See this drip down stuff? I don't care if you're getting the trend right there. The spread's kicking your ass. You got to be taking out these little nips here. Bink, 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 bink. What the fuck? Be there your whole life on that trade. This is not a bad pace here. But for God's sakes, this is a day from here to here. So think about this area and this area. Now this is a 4-hour window taken out of the middle of the day, and carry that forward and think about selling into that. Or just selling above the high the previous day. Right? You sell, you scalp, you're like, yeah, you're wrong. Now, so you're risking the fact that you're wrong there until you're really right. Just like this plunge here now, obviously somebody bought this, or enough people did this trade to make it kind of turn around here is if you started buying below here as this plunges, and you're like, I don't give a fuck, I'm buying that. Oh, sorry, I can't swear. The bounce to here and the bounce to here, people are cashing out. They're taking profits, and they're really cashing out here when everything fell apart. And when it takes out this rooftop here, boy, the sellers come in and they just feast on that, and it becomes a real feeding frenzy. And I'd say if you can range trade, forget trend trading. I don't even know why this guy's suggesting people trend trade. It's just so ridiculous. You could blow your mind. It's just, who does that to somebody? 80% of the market's going like this. If you can make money from this stuff, man, I know it's going down, but seriously, where do you get in, right? So yeah, I mean, if you're going to trend trade it, you're going to have to get in here. Right, you're getting in where structure there, sell it. But is that really trend trade, or is it just ranging? Is it just cutting into these people's stops? And once it gobbles that up, you see this move here off of these, feeding off of these. So that's a high probability move, and a lot of people cash out here. So yeah, you could trade breakout into limits back and back in. And of course, you're going to be a little compromised on that, because how many are you going to buy here? So how many do you set on a buy limit here? But you just have to see what you could afford to do on that, because that is a good trade, right? You go short here on stops, and you're getting out. You know, the target's here. This is the big monster target, that hole. Let me use my trusty designer tools here. So this is just an amazing feeding frenzy right there. When they tag this is New Zealand versus Swiss. That's something I trade. But that 4-hour smash down into that 4-hour pocket. So I guess that's what the ICT calls the trade blocks. Or like trade holes, trade shelves, like this one here. And then we tag this slot even deeper. But it's very narrow, but this is still that's a 2-pip window. So the spread's almost 2 probably at some of these points here, but then we finally hit this one. And people's heads come unwrapped there. So if you look at the chart, you see how spastic that wick is? Why is it so spastic? Because this is the newest low that's just been hit. So when it goes through the floor there, it's vicious. Let me get this down to a small piece. And look, it comes back to it. So your classic situation there. So everybody knows that price exists. In fact, this is the first plunge through. The first time you breach it is right here. So that's the key window. People start buying there, and then they dump there, and then they start buying here. And that was a great trade for them. They gobbled this up. When it came back to here, they dumped, and if they hung on for a little bit more, you could get that out of that. But see, now it's drying up. But I would be putting in buy limits now right here to pick something up. At least don't overpay by 2 pips. There's no reason to. So somebody's talking about scalping. I said, well, how tight is stop? And they said something like 15, 20 pips. And a 10K, you could at least put 5 2Ks in limit form, and just let the market come to you for like a half a pip away, 3 pips away. Depends how fast the market's moving, and as far as the risk goes, if the market's slamming around 100 pips and you've only got a 10 pip stop ticket, it's kind of futile to try to run a 10 pip stop at a market slamming around 50 pips. Maybe in Asia, you could build a position. It's drifting up. You're buying in pullbacks. You're getting a little bit better fill. And then the market makes a run into London Open and you cash out. And maybe you cashed out enough. You have a small position riding for the supposed target that you see in your mind's eye. But of course, there's be a lot of ups and downs before we take off. So the 80% of the market's sideways, so you can count on it not being a straight line. And so as it bounces around, if you get out and then you jump back in with limits, then you can come back in the same way you did before, because that's however you made money the last time. You have to keep repeating that. So unfortunately, unless you're going to put like a lot of money in an account and pick one market and go, oh, I think it's going there, you could make a lot of money on that trade. But if it doesn't go your way, then and if this is going to be a stopless trade, right, those kind of considerations, and so all sorts of bad stuff could happen to that account. And if you have more than one account like that, of course, who cares? So I get the kind of inference that this guy that's complaining about this and that, and then I said, well, go trade Bitcoin or something. And like people will say stuff like, well, the market's rigged and stuff. You just shouldn't be trading. Everything, like people say, that car, the mileage isn't what it says in the book. Well, don't drive. At some point, this life's risky and it's full of bad things that can happen. And of course, I think people try to mitigate it through. They want to cut down the risk by finding a better system. Yeah, okay. But I think this, the scanning for an entry thing, I think if somebody was to realize that you'd have to scan for exit too, I guess. It's really not a trade till you get out. And I don't even know how people are doing that with the 2% risk thing. I mean, you could just die, right? I mean, I would die. I'd kill myself. If I was, I'm going to risk 2% of this account. I'm probably going to risk the whole account. If I think this is a good trade and I got like $3,000 in there, I'd be like, okay, let's risk about $1,500. But not on one ticket. I wouldn't put a $1,500 stop on one ticket. I couldn't imagine that. I just couldn't imagine, because there's no way you can survive it. You can scalp out of in other words, you can scalp a percentage of the account to pay for a large swing trade that's a smaller position than the scalp position, because if you're going to trade a blend like that, right? Because I don't see how I couldn't do it, because there's so many great scalps and there's not many great trends or very good. Like, I don't have the patience to sit in something as it's smashing around. Like, if it's smashing around, I mean, it may be going up, but it's just ridiculous. Come on. It's too much. This here, I probably would have been cashed out of something here. If I bought this plunge, I know I would, because I bought this plunge today on the British pound like that. So, I don't normally trade British pound, but I looked at it and I said, I think there's a trade here. And it was the same dumbass trade. I put buy limits down here, and they went down there. Not on this account. This is the demo account. But this has the same look as the euro, and this is actually banging up against this trend line on close very nicely here. This looks ready to pop its cork up. Another thing is the volatility has been drying up. This is the floor that we're supposed to adhere to on the British pound. It's 9 o'clock at night. So all we got to do is tip up there, come after these wicks, and forget about it. It's over. It's over for these people. the bulls. I mean the bears. The bears are going to get their clock cleaned here at these prices. We take out this price, and then we come after this and all the way to here. So I think this is the beginning of the end. It's halfway through the month, halfway through the week, and it's over. Lights out for the dollar. Say goodbye, dollar. Let's delete these objects and start over here. Okay, let's look at that navigator for my trusty deletions. All right, so let's start over here. So take a look at this thing. So if you were to do this trend line, I'm just using it to cordon off the lack of volatility. This dripping down factor here. So we're right up against that line, not close. And if you draw trend lines like this, it means you're drawing a true volatility trend line. So you broke volatility here. Or this is just price over time on line chart. I think this is just the way it is. So you're trying to close outside of the box there, where you can break outside, on this trend line, which I don't like it because it's not a trend line to me. It's just kind of like a volatility breakout kind of cordon off deal. So here, buying that new low. That was it. And I actually bought this one here. So it went down here and I held it, and I thought, we got to scalp out of something, and then we rode the rest to here. And it's over. Now, that's the buy limit. Doesn't mean that you couldn't have got in with a buy stop and a sell stop here. Here is 8 hours of nothing. 8 hours of nothing. You could have sold here on a sell stop. But you had to know when to get out because they were going to trap you down there. And you could have sold this rally and you could have sold that rally and been like, well, I made this money. Yeah, that's right. But in a way, that's just a range trade, I suppose. Well, these are all range trades. Like if I buy here, I'm counter trend trading, but I'm just range trading it, Look how they went a little bit lower here. So I remember watching this get filled, and I thought, oh, they filled me lower. And these tickets were still pending when we came down here. So it's just getting that right. And, of course, if buying this new low here on the British pound and riding it to here is a good trade, that's a good counter trend trade. You could still say, oh, I think it's going down. I'm going to sell every rally. So I sold here, sold here, sold here, sold that, sold that, sold that. It's really, to build a southern position is as easy as building a northern position. To build a bullish position, you're going to buy every pullback. So you're going to buy here. I know it sounds unbelievable. Here. You're buying. When it's down, you're buying. Okay? It doesn't, forget the indicators. I'm sure there's an indicator that's oversold here. In fact, this is RSI reversal. This is more oversold here than it is here. So your RSI, given the right speed of RSI, is going to look like that, where this is more oversold here. You're going to project off that. But it goes beyond that because it's going into this giant hole there. And that is the Brexit. Oh, that's the Trump's clone election. Boris from Boris and Natasha. So here it looks like the breakout traders got their buy stops. They got maybe trapped on the sell side. Right, so if you put sell stops that are a little bit further away from the market. Okay, so you're getting filled before at least this guy, though. Right, you're getting in here. To get in there on the idea that this is a breakout is just not a good idea. It cannot be a good idea. Come on, think about it. So a breakout of this bar, yes, because this is a baby bar. And baby bars really give good breakout. Like, look at this one up here. Come on. Look at this little baby cluster. Look at this one. Nice breakout. Clean. And then one last breakout. That's why you always have to take something off, because look at that beautiful move. So it's kind of kooky, and every bar, the market's continually unfolding here. I think the British pound is going to reject this. And we're just going to go start going after this giant hole up here of nothingness. This big vacuum. Because we filled this one. God knows we came back and came after this guy. Some poor goober had to stop down here. He's thinking, nobody will touch me. I got to stop here in a 25 pip window. That's just not so. Because you backed your stop up, would you consider to be like nobody's going to touch it? Well, they've touched it. This is why you need to buy goober stops off of them, right? The buying begins here. Buy, 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 buy. In a 50 pip window. I don't know what's risky about that. And, you know, I guess like the idea that you're underwater on this ticket, you're underwater on this next ticket, underwater, 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 and then sure, if this is where you blow up your account and then you watch it go up, yeah, that's a heartbreaker. That's a heartbreaker. This is the structure sellers. There's a bottom becoming a top on Wix, almost on time here. Is this bottom become a top tonight? I don't think so. No, sorry. It's not going to happen. And this is last week's wedge. Going after that, and the dollar is doomed. It's doomed. This was the auction. The sellers are supposed to come in here. Oh, gee, they ran out of gas. What happened? So that's the story. We're looking for a big pop up here. Also, German stock market. I think it's had it. If it's not had it, it's at resistance. Look at this monthly. Wow. As the Dow just pummels north. Look at this Dow Jones. Could you believe this stuff? S&P looks like it's giving up the ghost there. Some kind of hell to pay here on the S&P. Got to be coming. But, you know, once again, look at this thing. Are you kidding me? Right? It just defies everything that everybody's ever thought about a market. But I think that this is stretched out to the end of the world. There's going to be hell to pay on the downside here. Well, this bullshit kicks in. So I think the euphoria, there's a saturation to everything. I'm not saying you should, but maybe buy some puts. The guy that's having a problem with the FIFO rules, I think you can still buy puts on the S&P. I don't know what they cost, but they probably not. Well, they could expire worthless. That's the only risk. But you'd be surprised. In a plummeting market, even the calls go up, and when the volatility kicks up. So you could actually have them. I had some U.S. bond. I had two calls I bought, and they were worth like $60. They were dead. I think they were like $31. I think that's as cheap as they were worth one pip, 31.50. So they were worth like $2,000. The market took off, and that was the guy just. Well, this was like about 5 days before ultimate expiration. I mean, they're just gonna be worth nothing, and all of a sudden the market came flying back. I'm sure people have some puts, and this is getting very quiet up here. And the air's getting kind of thin on that S&P 500. What the hell, right? Look at this thing. Something's wrong there. out of balance. This was the New Zealand trade that I slightly took. We went for new lows here on the New Zealand. Look at that thing. Wow. What obliteration. Here's another instance of daily turtle traders win hands down on this chart. And how is that? Well, I'd say never put a sell stop in where you see a big bar. So your first chance to put a sell stop and a buy stop. Turtle traders are making money. No fills on the long side, only filled on the short side. Turtle traders clean up here. Right? So people will say, you got to be a turtle trader, man. I remember these books and people, dude, the turtle traders, they made so much money. Yeah, because of this fucking move. And we were cutting through this water, right? Sure. I swore again. They're making so much gosh darn money. It was just, Betty, it was unbelievable. Madge, you're soaking in it. Buy stops in the money management. Just keep trailing that stop. We're making money. Oh my God, it's just amazing. We keep selling new lows too, though. We're adding to a winner. This is ultimate turtle dream here. Until ruh-roh. Oh my God, I built the Holy Grail, but now it's getting like whipsawed. It's crazy. How's that working out? Huh? What? Well, we went long here, Joe, and then you came back from dinner. We went short here, then we went long here, then we went short here. And I just got to tell you, I don't have any good news for you. All the money we made here, is it dropping? I'm giving it all back. I don't even know. I'm going to quit trading. So Ryan Brown couldn't see that. Sometimes, yeah, you can build a system. It's looking for this situation. First of all, how many times does that situation show up? And do you know why it's even happening? It's happening because of this hole. Isn't it? Well, we spike above here and everybody's like, whoa. And then it doesn't hold this low. People are like, uh-oh. And I mean, the turtle traders could have gone short here. They're first, if they're going to or non-directional breakout traders. And here they're probably wondering why they didn't put, like, they're just like, we should expand our targets. That was quite a good move. And you're buying here for a dead cat bounce. And if you're just going to sell every rally, if you're not going to put buy stops, if you're not going to turtle trade it, then you're going to sell every rally. But you are waiting for overbought. It's overbought. It's overbought. Sell. 3 sells. But see, the turtle traders are kicking your ass because they're just like, dude, we just go with order flow. We're just selling because it's going down. Hey, man. But see, you can't do that here. You can't keep selling because it's going down. Because it doesn't keep going down, see? Isn't it apparent yet to the people that are trying to build the Holy Grail that maybe the market doesn't do the same thing all the time? Huh? What? So, like, yeah, I know. This is a nice move, and yeah, that's, if you got in here, right, they put a buy stop here, a sell stop here, got filled long, you made 100 pips, and wow. This daily chart. But I think that it's better to think in terms of, okay, let's put some sell limits here. This is a good place to sell. I can't do anything about the past. Here I could put a buy limit here when they go stop hunting these people. And I just sit back. I got no exposure right now. I think the exposure is what he's talking about. Risk. We'd have to scalp off of that and come back and rinse and repeat, even if it is going to come back to here. But what if it's going to go up? So it breaks into here, right? So this is the I guess the way you trade this, after the scalpers have had their fun, you want to buy here because this is going to be the original breakout point. This is confirmation breakout entry kind of idea. Breaks out, pulls back, goes. Of course, even at that, for me, it's going to have to be multiple tickets, right? Because I had to make money on this plunge here, and I could have even gone into turtle mode here and just kept buying new highs and chase it. It's a daily chart. I'm sure if I drop down to the 4-hour chart, there's got to be a pullback inside of here. And so that's why people, go to the 1 minute chart then. Fuck, there's got to be tons of trades there. Yeah, I bet. So here the 4-hour chart, as that thing's climbing out of the hole. So this is the hole down here. So if you bought here, or this is the closing support, it bangs into here and people cash out, and the sellers do come in here. The trend traders come back in. It's like going to be another, but they never make it to here. And these are the wicks that you're buying, and you would scalp to here. You may, if you can perceive this giant hole here, you'd be like, oh yeah, they're going to crush into that because this is 2-day pounding into. People made a lot of money here that buy this new low to here. It actually engulfs this point, goes to here. Then they get another opportunity to buy another pullback, and you can draw your first trend line. And then this is kind of a pullback to the breakout point. Doesn't quite make it, but so dumping this up into here and coming back in with the buy limits or waiting for it to close down. Each hour it closes, you could buy. Since you don't know if it's going to keep tanking, you'd buy here at the market, you'd buy here. So 2 hours of buying. And maybe you dump the whole thing here and you just consider it a great trade. Here is a pullback to an actual top become a bottom here. The wicks overshoot, but you're buying that. You're buying. These are kind of baby end of the day pullbacks. It's better to wait for the Asia smash. So in Asia they pull it back real deep. So if you wait till the so here's the end of the session. Here comes Asia. You could have bought that low and they come back to here. So that's easy. That first move. Here's a new low in Asia you could buy, and then they come up, and this is what I'm looking for tonight. Is this move, because we've already done this move. That's in the euro I'm talking about, and the pound. So in the British pound, I'm looking at this. Let's see. I can go to this scenario here. Okay, so we've already been down there. And now we're just looking for it to start going after this price. That should be doable. Well, that's the idea. And by the time London opens, maybe we're here. We're scalping out of something. I'm scalping out along the way. So I don't have a hard stop, and I don't want one. I don't have a hard take profit unless it's the end of the session. The thing has come all the way to target, and I just close everything out. But on the way there, it's going to be taking stuff off the table. So ideally, half the position exists maybe as it comes up there, and just go flat if I want. If I think, it's just that's it. It's just not. It's running out of gas because it can always come back in with shallow limits now. So I keep changing the depth of the tickets based on what I think the market's capable of. So if I was flat right now, I'd put in buy limits like this. And this one would last 8 hours. This would last 12 hours, whatever. If they don't fill me, then I'm going to watch it. Every hour it drips down, I'm going to buy one at the market. So it's like if it went down here, buy at the market. buy at the market, but I've still got limits here that are getting tagged when it tanks into that zone. Okay, what else here? We got euro to the pound. It's a great buy right there. So even though if I bought here, I'd still want to put limits down here in case we tank a little bit lower. I was expecting the worst. This is a pretty rambunctious currency pair. If you look at this move here, this is the 4-hour chart. Coming below that, wow. If you can afford to buy a 50 pip window, which, I mean, it's not many different than buying. So if you buy a standard lot here and you put a stop in here, you could still make money on that trade, right? So I'm not saying you can't make money in that trade, but what if you buy here and your stop is here and then you lose that, right? Or you put a buy limit in here and they never fill you. Is that lost money? Let's see. So that's a psychological question based on what do you consider the money to be, and is $100 a lot of money, and is what do you think is a lot of money? So we got to pick out a lunch, $10 lunch. If it sucks, if your lunch sucks, did you just lose $10? I guess so as long as you didn't throw up in food poisoning, I think you're okay. All right, so this is the euro versus yen. So the euro's really climbed. Here's another turtle trade on the 4-hour. Not so great on euro yen, a little choppy. But this ride up here, this is people say, yeah, the robot, he does really good when he sees this move. And people probably do pretty good on this move because it's a real trend trade. Take a look at this top bottom action on the 4 hours. So right here, you got a little top bottom, narrow range, a lot of. This is a good place to trade a breakout because this is just going nowhere for forever. Same with this one over here, this nowhere forever kind of situation just before this plunge. If you had put on a hedge here, either by stop entry or just build one, sell every time it's up, buy every time it's down with tight stops and a giant target, you cash down all the way down there. This is the best, is to buy right in here on the limit. You may not think it could come back here, but even buying in this area, right, this whole thing here. So that's it. Okay, so we're just going to have to wait it out, see what happens.